Hello, and thanks for joining us on this edition of ViewPoint. We're here today with Randy Erwin of the National Federation of Federal Employees, or NEFI as we like to call them, to talk about our brothers and sisters in the federal sector. Randy, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Deirdre.
So right off the bat, I want to do a little housekeeping. Let me clarify that NEFI members are machinist members, correct?
Absolutely. Every NEFI member is a NEFI IAM member.
Okay, give me an example of some of the jobs that these people work.
Our biggest membership is in the Department of Defense, and these are the guys that armor Humvees. These are the people that build cannons. All kinds of important work to keep our military ready. Our second biggest is in the Forest Service. We represent 20 to 30,000 Forest Service workers, depending on the season. They ramp up during the summertime. Anytime you see wildfires out west, very often it's NEFI IAM members that are out there trying to tame those wildfires. We also represent the nurses and doctors and other healthcare professionals at 17 VA hospitals throughout the country. So the care of the American veteran is literally in the hands of NEFI IAM members.
Now, I think that is very different than what people think of when they think of a federal employee. So I'm so glad that you said that and that you clarified that. We have people working at the VA hospitals. We have people fighting forest fires. I mean, these are huge jobs. These are frontline, protect the American population jobs.
They've created this bureaucrat, this idea of this bureaucrat in Washington that is just not true. 85% of federal employees are not in the DC area. People are usually amazed by that. And so I mean, what I always ask our members to do, and the general population, everybody, when you think about a federal employee, don't think of this image that they've tried to put in your mind about what a federal employee is. Think about that nurse caring for that veteran. Think about the guy putting out that wildfire. Think about these guys that are keeping our military ready, because that's the work that federal employees really do. All this bureaucrat stuff is a bunch of nonsense. I mean, we're very proud of the work that we're doing, and it makes it a real honor to represent these guys, doing work on Capitol Hill, representing them in all different kinds of ways, collective bargaining, everything that we do as a union. It gives us a lot of pride to know that we're doing it for salt of the earth folks that are doing great work for the American people.
Now let's go back. You said collective bargaining. One of the arguments, let's say, that I hear a lot is, if federal workers can't strike, so why are they part of the labor movement? Can you explain kind of the situation with that?
Yeah. Federal workers have all the same needs as any other worker has. Not having the right to strike is just a limitation on us. Instead of negotiating wages and benefits and a lot of different work rules in the collective bargaining environment, Congress sets those things. They set our pay every year. They're the one who make decision about retirement and health care. And so, for the federal sector, it's a little bit more important we have more emphasis on Capitol Hill because that's where those decisions are made. But there's everything else that a worker cares about is decided, in a collective bargaining environment.
So you still have the same issues in terms of safety concerns. Taking care of the benefits, that sort of thing, being able to take care of your family at the end of the day, retirement, those are still very relevant to a federal worker.
Absolutely. It's the unions. The unions are the only groups out there that are fighting to keep federal pay respectable. It's falling compared to the private sector. It used to be just at the end of the Bush administration a few years ago, it was 26% below what people in the same jobs made in the private sector. It's now fallen to just 35% of what people in the same jobs are making in the private sector. So we got to turn that trend around.
So the collective voice that the federal workers have helps, bottom line. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, the workplace would not be the same. It would no longer be a good job to be a federal employee. Most people think, okay, a federal job, that's considered a good job. That would not be the case if the unions were not, like NEFI, IAM, holding the line and making sure that those benefits don't get taken away.
All right, so let's talk legislation. This last session, it seemed like there were some huge pieces of legislation that came through. IAM members are storming Capitol Hill every chance they get, and I know our federal workers have been right next to us. Are they doing it for solidarity, or do federal workers care about the same sort of legislation that's passing?
I think they're doing it for both. Federal workers' pay is based on surveys of workers getting paid in similar jobs in the private sector. So if you bust the unions in the private sector, then the pay scale is going to go down for federal employees.
Wait, you have to say that again, because that's something I didn't even know. So you're saying that what people make in the private sector, they do surveys on that, and that's how it trickles down to the federal employee?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, there's, they do surveys in 125 different parts of the country to see what workers make in each of those little areas, and they base the pay scales on those. And if we have right to work, if they ship jobs overseas because of some of these awful free trade agreements that have been negotiated and passed, federal workers' pay is going to suffer as well. The federal government is the biggest employer in the United States. Okay, and like I said, 85% of them are not in the D.C., Maryland, Virginia area. They're spread out all over the country. In a lot of these, like say a big defense base, like Red River Army Depot in Texarkana, Texas, that is the economic hub of the entire area. It is the economic heart and soul of the region. When you talk about when a place like that doesn't get a respectable cost of living adjustment, it trickles down throughout the entire area. You're hurting every business, every family, every school district. Everybody's impacted by a thing like that.
What can people inside and outside of the labor movement do to make sure that these American heroes are taken care of?
I think you should just throw out the idea of this federal bureaucrat. Get it out of your mind. These are the VA nurses. These are the folks preparing our military. And just that change in mentality will do a lot.
Well, our members are fantastic when it comes to educating themselves. We've given them definitely a kickstart with this, so that's great. Thank you so much for joining us and for stopping by. Appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, Deirdre.
Thank you for joining us on this edition of ViewPoint. For more information on these workers, you can log on to their website at nffe.org. See you next time.